Tangentopoli, known internationally as Bribesville, was one of the most significant political and judicial events in modern Italian history, representing the collapse of an entire political system that had dominated the country for almost half a century. The scandal was revealed through the judicial investigation known as Mani Pulite, clean hands, which began in Milan in February 1992 and soon expanded to involve all of Italy. The spark that ignited the investigation was the arrest of Mario Chiesa, a socialist politician and manager of a nursing home who was caught accepting a bribe from a cleaning company. At first, the leadership of the Socialist Party, PSI, especially its national secretary and former Prime Minister Bettino Craxi, attempted to portray Chiesa as a lone rotten apple. However, under questioning, Chiesa revealed a far-reaching and systematic mechanism of corruption involving not just individuals, but entire political parties and economic sectors. The Milanese magistrates, led by Antonio Di Pietro, Gerardo Colombo, Pier Camillo Davigo, and Francesco Saverio Borrelli, uncovered what was soon called the Tangentopoli system, a nationwide network in which public contracts, tenders, and licenses were regularly obtained through bribes and illegal kickbacks, known in Italian as tangenti. The investigation rapidly spread to Rome, Naples, Turin, and other major cities, unveiling a system of corruption that had become an almost institutionalized part of public life. Construction firms, engineering companies, and large industrial groups systematically paid off politicians and public officials to secure government contracts or favorable decisions. Political parties used these funds for electoral campaigns and to maintain vast networks of power and patronage. The practice was so widespread that many participants viewed it as an unavoidable cost of doing business rather than a crime. As a result, when the Mani Pulite magistrates began arresting and questioning suspects, an unprecedented wave of confessions and plea bargains emerged. Many businessmen, fearing long prison sentences, chose to reveal details about how the system worked, creating an unstoppable domino effect. The consequences were dramatic. Between 1992 and 1994, thousands of people were investigated and hundreds were arrested, including high-ranking members of the Christian Democracy, DC, the Socialist Party, PSI, the Italian Liberal Party, PLI, the Italian Social Democratic Party, PSDI, and even some members of the Italian Communist Party, PCI. Among the most notable cases was that of Bettino Craxi himself, who became a symbol of the corrupt system after being publicly confronted with flying coins by angry crowds outside the Hotel Raffaele in Rome. Accused of illicit party financing and corruption, Craxi eventually fled to Tunisia, where he remained in exile until his death in 2000. The Mani Pulite investigation not only revealed the corruption of individuals, but also exposed the structural weaknesses of the Italian Republic's post-war political system. For decades, Italy had been governed by a coalition led by the Christian Democrats, with the Socialist Party as a key ally. The Cold War context had allowed these parties to remain in power with little real alternation, leading to the creation of entrenched networks of political and economic privilege. The collapse of the Soviet Union and the end of ideological divisions removed the old geopolitical justification for this equilibrium, and Mani Pulite accelerated its disintegration. By 1994, the old political order, known as the First Republic, had effectively collapsed. The Christian Democrats and the Socialists dissolved, along with many smaller parties. In the political vacuum that followed, new figures emerged, most notably Silvio Berlusconi, a media tycoon who founded Forza Italia and presented himself as an outsider who could renew Italian politics after the moral devastation of Tangentopoli. However, Berlusconi himself would later become a controversial figure, facing multiple corruption trials throughout his career, which many observers saw as evidence that the deeper cultural and institutional roots of corruption in Italy had not been eradicated. Despite the enormous public support that Mani Pulite initially enjoyed, the investigation gradually lost momentum. Over time, many cases were dismissed due to procedural delays, appeals, or the expiration of the statute of limitations. Critics accused the judiciary of overstepping its role, turning justice into a form of political power, while others argued that the political class and legislative system deliberately slowed down judicial reforms to protect themselves.
By the late 1990s, the climate of moral outrage that had characterized the early years of the scandal had largely faded, replaced by a sense of disillusionment and cynicism among the Italian public. Nevertheless, Tangentopoli and the Mani Pulite investigation remain a watershed in Italian history. They marked the end of the First Republic, the transformation of Italian's political system, and a moment of national reckoning over the ethical foundations of public life. The investigations profoundly influenced Italian society, sparking debates over legality, transparency, and the relationship between citizens and their institutions. Though they did not eliminate corruption, they exposed its mechanisms to the public eye and changed forever the way Italians viewed their political class. Tangentopoli stands today as both a symbol of justice and a reminder of the fragility of democracy when power, money, and politics become intertwined.